Here we go. This is true, really. Please, for heaven's sake, like, subscribe, and or follow us, would you? At Apple Podcasts, Podcast Land, at Podcast Ocean, Podcast Mountain, and Listen Notes.
Recently,
hang on. I didn't say, and have your friends do the same.
Oh, I'm sorry. I just butted in.
I've kind of lost the whole momentum now. I mean, who wants
please, would you please finish it? I was
follow us. No, go ahead. Start your story, smart guy.
Okay, fine.
All right, fine. Like, subscribe, and or follow us, and have your friends do the same, please. At Apple Podcasts, Podcast Land, Podcast Ocean, Podcast Mountain, and Listen Notes. You didn't think I'd remember all of them, did you?
No, I didn't.
I don't think I did, but okay.
This is True, Really News with Scott Combs and Tony Vercanis. All the news you're about to hear is true.
Really?
As far as you know.
Recently.
How recent?
Well, it was a couple of weeks.
Okay.
Glasgow police officer noticed a drone tracking her vehicle.
Glasgow?
No. Okay. Glasgow. Noticed a drone tracking her vehicle. Now, to be fair, at first she wasn't sure it was a drone, but she was sure something was following her. So she tried.
Even in Glasgow, Scotland, in Scotland, they don't have mosquitoes that big. So come on.
She tried several times to shake free of the object to no avail.
Was it a chase?
And she determined that by that time it was a drone. So she headed for the Fort Shopping Center in Glasgow as she called into the General Police Scotland complaints number to keep everybody in the loop.
They have one of those?
Yeah, they do.
Right.
We ought to give them a call sometime. It's about the haggis, sir. By the time she returned to the police station,
click.
One of the senior officers had the answer to her troubles.
She was under surveillance by the cops.
It was not a drone following her.
No. It wasn't?
It was a planet. Literally a planet.
Why do I feel like I'm in a weird Twilight Zone? No, Outer Limits.
Jupiter.
Google it. Your folks can tell you.
Which can be very bright in the sky. And
but how do you mistake that for?
Well, one other officer is quoted as saying this is going to haunt her for years.
Oh,
they will have nothing but fun with her for some time.
I'm guessing her friends now have.
Well, her nickname must be Jupiter from now on.
Oh, wasn't that Mila Kunis?
What?
Jupiter Rising.
Oh,
yeah. Not to be confused with Jupiter's Legacy, because that was canceled right away by Netflix. Nice going.
Smart move, by the way. It was crap.
It should have been so much better.
Yeah, right.
And they just dragged the thing. Sorry.
Yeah, sorry.
I didn't need that much backstory right at the beginning.
Yep.
You told me everything I needed to know. Could have done that over 2 seasons. You know, if you'd have done it over 2 seasons, you might have had 2 seasons. So you have to commend these neighbors for putting up with it as long as they did. Some folks in Russia, unfortunately, had to finally resort to help from the police to tame a belligerent neighbor. Dude, you'd be squooed. A Russian court served Yuri Kondratyev, 46, a 3.5-year prison sentence for disturbing his neighbors. Wow, think of it. You got like 10 years.
I would have gotten life.
That might, at your age, that might seem harsh at first glance. Let me think. At second glance, it's still not all that nice. But here you go. How are you at Russian? Nizhny Novgorod? Is that a city? I'm guessing a city.
Yeah.
What is Nizhny Novgorod, man? Wasn't George Bush a proud next door inhabitant? Wow. Sorry, Chekhov.
Well, yeah. It sounded Jamaican.
Mon. Mon.
All right, go ahead.
For nearly 2 years, Kondratyev had been practically torturing his neighbors with his behavior. He started out with playing very loud music late into the night. As time went on, his antics they wrote outlandish, but they just got weird. By the end of his, this is not hyperbole. By the end of his reign of terror, maybe a little, he would make or play sounds of horses every 2 hours throughout the night. And no, not the cool Wilbur kind.
Yeah.
Horses neighing and whinnying. Very loud. Every 2 hours.
What?
He would keep his neighbors from getting a wink of sleep for days at a time. So finally, his neighbors can sleep soundly, and I feel a little bit bad for his cellmates. It's There is a reason they guess behind his bizarre behavior. According to his neighbors, his wife left him in 2018. Insert jokes here.
Yeah.
And it was soon after he started his nightly noise making. His neighbors must have felt sorry for him at first, but their sympathy ran out pretty quick. When you don't sleep for days at a time, sympathy goes right out the window. First, they tried to tell him to turn his music down at night. That, of course, had a great effect on the man.
Yeah, please turn the music down.
He's like a teenage kid. Played it louder. Mm-hmm. When he did eventually stop playing the music, he started banging on furniture and playing sounds of horses neighing.
So if I can't be happy, no one's going to be happy.
Exactly. Oh. At one point, the neighbor suggested that perhaps he see a therapist. So he did. He went to see a doctor to get a paper that declared him perfectly sane. Thank you. And then he went back to doing just what he was doing. Understandable that the neighbors finally called the cops and then called them again and again and again. And basically, they figure they made more than 80 complaints about him to the police. And most of the cops showed up, gave him a slap on the wrist.
Yeah.
The biggest oopsie for Kondratyev was in 2018. They fined him 5,000 rubles.
What's he?
$67.
Okay. Wow.
Which he promptly neglected to pay.
So he wasn't out anything.
See, now that in the U.S. would get you a bigger fine and jail time. Nah. So in December of 2019, the courts finally heard the pleas of his neighbors and placed him under arrest. He was subsequently charged not with disruptive behavior, not with disturbing the peace, but with torture.
Oh.
A court in Nizhny Novgorod, don't do it, slapped Kondratyev with a charge of torturing 2 or more people over an extended period of time. According to local media, this is the first time in Russia that a person's been charged with a crime due to mental suffering inflicted on his neighbors, which I guess would also mean that, now that he's going to jail, that would be the first time they've ever had anyone go to jail for inflicting mental suffering on
Seems
his neighbors.
To follow.
I would put him in a cell and then pipe in loud music with horses neighing. But that's just me. You know how I can be.
Retaliatory. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, mostly vindictive.
Recently, Tulsa police posted on their Facebook weekly most wanted page that Lori Ann Graves was wanted as an accessory to murder in the death of Eric Graves back in March. Shortly after the posting, Ms. Graves started commenting on the post, asking, "Where's the reward money at?" To which one of her friends posted, "Girl, you better stay off social media. They can track you." Indeed, they could.
And they did?
Following Thursday around 4:30 p.m., detectives with the Fugitive Warrants Unit arrested her in North Tulsa, in her lair. She was...
lair?
Well, yeah. She was.
That's true. Bad guys or superheroes have lairs.
Right.
That's your Batman.
She was booked into Tulsa County Jail, bond set at $500,000.
Holy buckets, bad boy. That's only $50,000, right? For the bond, you have to pay 10%, right?
Yeah, I think so.
And then your bail bondsman gets screwed when you skip to Canada?
Exactly, which is what I think she's probably going to do.
I would think that would be the first, considering she's not that bright to begin with.
A flight risk, you think?
So what do you need to carry out a successful surgery? Go ahead. What do you think?
Not to die.
That's always successful. So in that case, Ryan Andrew King of Brisbane, is it Brisbane or Brisbane?
Brisbane.
From Brisbane was charged.
Not when I'm drinking something, you jerk.
Brisbane was charged in September last year with 2 counts of causing grievous bodily harm with intent to maim. Well, I don't know if it was intent. He did maim 2 men's Wiki Wackies and friend.
Yeah.
One in 2019, one in 2020.
Twig and berries.
And you think, why does that sound like a really bad BBC cop show? I mean, doesn't it? The best part is because we only catch the ones who aren't that bright.
Yeah.
Film the whole process and then put it on the internet because, come on, why not? In a surprise twist, however, the judge, Richard Jones, gave King a suspended sentence July 16th and released him on probation.
What? What?
Let's just say the judge quoted both King's guilty plea expressing remorse and positive impact statements from his patients. No,
Victims.
from those guys.
Yeah.
The case gets weirder. King didn't do anything he wasn't asked to do. Both of his guys, anyway, sought him out of their own free will. The Australian police busted him when they got called to a backpacker hostel in Brisbane to investigate a strange case of mutilation.
This isn't even self-mutilation.
No. Well, that would hurt. God,
Self-mutilation by proxy.
See, this is smart mutilation. In the hostel, the cops found the 26-year-old man from Sydney. He had been, let's just say he was 1.5 short, shall we say? Suffering from as yet unspecified complications.
Oh.
Being stupid?
Idiot.
After they delivered the ailing man to the hospital, the cops raided his apartment in Brisbane's West End. They found more evidence than they were probably prepared for, because inside his freezer were both a full set of twig and berries. A DNA test later confirmed that matched King's earlier victim. No one has said why he decided to preserve them. And honest to God, do you really want? I don't want to know.
No, I don't want to even speak to this guy. I don't want to look at him.
According to his attorney, King suffers from both ADHD and Asperger's syndrome. He was also apparently born with Klinefelter syndrome. That's where you have the additional X chromosome.
Okay.
Which, among other things, causes rather stunted big and
twaries. Yes.
Development. Yeah.
Here.
Things don't grow as they should. At the final court hearing to decide his sentence, he pled guilty on 2 counts of malicious act with intent. The judge said, "You are clearly not authorized or qualified to do what you did," to which the entire courtroom said under their breath, "No duh." Your plea, though, shows your level of remorse and no doubt the level of shame you feel in respect of what you have done. The judge also considered victim impact statements submitted by both of his victims. In them, both defended the man. So the Judge Jones sentenced him to 3.5 years in jail. He had already done about a year in custody, pre-sentence stuff. So he suspended the rest of the sentence, and he's got 3 years probation.
All for twig and berries envy.
Yep. Snip, snip. When I did that, it wasn't quite this bad.
Oh, don't get me started on
Don't
what you
get
had
started.
to do.
Sorry, I didn't bring that up. Quick, stop now. Stop now. We're done.
I'm going to have Joanne call you and tell you the story back.
Oh, God. Bye, Joanne.
This is true, really news. Send email to TiTR@netradio.network.